And no one has ever asked me this or even come close to this. I can tell you there is such a deeper level of success, love, fulfillment, joy, peace that exists, especially for CEOs and founders, is that they don't often have people that are willing to say the truth to them.
If this was 6 months ago, I won't lie to you.
Bodybuilding for me became this platform at which I started to first change and evolve and grow my physical vessel. But then it allowed me to start going on a journey of personal development and personal evolution. And that's when I started asking the deeper questions.
Welcome to the show, Emily.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This has been a journey, I think. Since we met at a speaking event, I have been begging you to come on the show, and I finally got you.
I know. I'm finally glad that our schedules aligned.
Yes.
And I've been telling my friends that. They're like, oh, whose show are you going on? I said, Jeff Fenster. He's incredible. He's a founder. And we have not been able to connect for the last, what has it been now?
A couple of years, I think.
Not a couple years. That's dramatic.
No, I think it has. I think I saw you we spoke together.
It was like 1 year. I think it was actually 1 year to the month.
Really?
I think so.
Where were we?
We were in LA at, I think, Dan Fleischman's event.
Aspire?
It would not Aspire. It was a different event.
Okay. You know what? I agree. It was 1 year, not 2 years.
Good man.
Yes, you are right.
Yeah.
1 year. But I think I reached out to you on social even before that.
Oh, you're actually right.
And we were trading. And then I finally got to meet you in person. And I'm like, okay, Emily, you're coming on the show.
Yes.
Because I am fascinated with your approach to life. Because you talk about it in a way that I don't hear a lot of entrepreneurs speak. You get really deep into not just the vessel and who we are as people, but kind of why we're here, what's bigger than us, letting go of the things that most of us try to control. And it's weird because you normally wouldn't see that perspective coming from a professional bodybuilder. Because that is something you can control-ish, right? And it's so disciplined and focused and regimented to get there. So I guess my first question is, at what point in your life did you kind of get this bigger, broader, altruistic perspective, if you will? Like this bigger than you? Like it's not just us as individuals and we're not these individual people living our lives, but we're part of something bigger. How did that ever enter your psyche?
This is a great question. No one has ever asked me this or even come close to this. So I already love how your mind works. And I would say a big part of that is that faith and belief has been a big part of my life ever since I was younger. It was very prominent growing up, and that, I think, allowed me to always connect to something bigger than myself. That journey has evolved throughout the years. My own relationship to faith, belief, to the divine has grown and evolved and expanded since then. But I do believe that anchor, that foundation, allowed me to have a deeper and wider perspective than had I not had that. Bodybuilding for me became this platform at which I started to first change and evolve and grow my physical vessel. But then it allowed me to start going on a journey of personal development and personal evolution. And that's when I started asking the deeper questions. And I do believe that bodybuilding did one thing for me really well. It helped me to break free from a lot of the habits and patterns and even ways of living that I think most people get stuck in, even something like drinking. When I would compete for bodybuilding, zero drinking. When I wouldn't compete, there wouldn't be a reason for that. And so I would drink, maybe I'd party a little bit, and it was never a big issue. But when you're not doing that at all, you just become really clear and really sharp in a way where you aren't when you are maybe consistently, if it's every week or every other week, dulling an aspect of your mind and psyche. I think by now we all know alcohol is one of the worst possible things for your body. Not demonizing it by any means. I think we can all intentionally and consciously choose to participate in a way that doesn't affect our lives in a negative way. However, when it is something that's a consistent part of your life, you are not going to be as clear and as sharp as when you have some time away from it. So bodybuilding initially gave me time away from the habits like that might make me a more dull version of myself. And with that newfound clarity and sharpness, I could really ask deeper questions to get more clear on the bigger questions like, who am I? What is my purpose? Why am I here? What's really going on in this world? You know, who are we beyond these earth suits and earth vessels that we are? And through that, I started going into an internal journey. So that physical, bodybuilding was a very external journey, changing the external, but it was the first step to leading to my internal journey.
So as a female, professional bodybuilding, that's not a traditional path. It's not like, soccer, professional bodybuilding.
Totally.
What kind of led you to that? Because I feel like there's something that happened in life that kind of got you into the bodybuilding path, which then, like you said, allowed you to shed the bad habits that maybe we all do or would accept because we don't have a reason not to, which then allowed you to be more in your head and think bigger. But I guess I'm going to go back one more step because what bodybuilding?
Yeah. So growing up, I loved sports and athletics, and I always had this inner drive to be the absolute best that I could be. I was never the best on the field. I did volleyball, basketball, track and field, swimming when I was younger. I actually won a lot in swimming, so maybe I was the best in that for a period of time.
Did you like it?
I loved it. I loved any and all sports that I did. I would have probably played football if back then we were allowed to have football as women. I'm glad I didn't. There's a lot of concussions and things that come from that. But I just love sports, and I've always loved being athletic. So when I got to college and I no longer had team sports, I got really into weightlifting. And at first, I just loved it as an outlet. It was a healthy outlet to process emotions for me. And I didn't know how to process emotions. I was never taught, and I didn't even know necessarily that that's what I was doing at the time. I just knew that when life was crazy, I could go in the gym, push myself to the absolute extreme, and I could come out feeling better.
But what helped you identify the weightlifting part? Because I feel like a lot of women who go to the gym for that exact type of release, they lean more into cardio or tone, but not bodybuilding. What was that push to say, no, I want to actually do it like this versus, and I don't like to use traditional stereotypes, but it's there. So there was something different, right? Because like when I got to college, I was not a professional bodybuilder, but I lifted weights every day. Yeah. Because I wanted to bulk up. Most of the females in the gym were not trying to bulk up. So kind of what was the draw from what was that draw, if you will?
Yeah. I remember being on Pinterest and I saw, such a girl thing, I know. I saw this photo of this woman's body, and it was like from her neck down, it showed her midsection and it showed her shoulders in this really beautiful feminine shape. And she had said something about weightlifting and bodybuilding and shaping her body for that. To this day, I don't even know who that is. I just like vividly remember the photo in my head, and which is just wild to think about because I wonder now, this could literally be a friend of mine at this point, and I don't know. Because again, it didn't show her face, and it's just this one photo that set me on this journey because it was this light bulb moment of, wow, you can shape your body like art. How cool is that? How cool that we have these physical vessels that through intention and discipline and work ethic and intentional choices with our foods that we can create a beautiful shape. And back then, I definitely had no booty, for women, especially in bodybuilding. It's, really a goal to have a symmetrical, balanced shape. And I just naturally was not one of those women that had that. And so once I saw that it was possible, I was like, oh, I want that. I want to be able to create this shape and this symmetry and this balance of a physique that feels, like my most confident self. And that feels like something I could be really proud of. And so then that sent me on this journey of fun and exploration and curiosity to kind of just see what was possible with the human body. And I also have to mention, because it's a very large part of my journey, that my dad owned his own facility growing up. He's a naturopathic doctor, also did personal training and counseling. So I literally grew up in the gym. At the age of 7, I was like spotting his clients like, one more rep. Just screaming as this little girl. So I grew up in the gym essentially, and with a really incredible role model for healthy living and weightlifting. And it was a part of my life as a child.
Does your father have the kind of faith Is he as into his faith as you are? Was that kind of from him?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so you were kind of around that growing up, and clearly you had this best version of myself mindset, so you didn't have to find that. So as you get through weightlifting and then you start to realize, okay, there's something more, and you start to ask these deeper questions, you've gone further than most. I mean, even how you say vessel. Like, this is the human body, but you say vessel. I don't hear that term very often. So, and I struggle with faith, so this is more curiosity for me, but where did you turn for those questions to be answered? Because it's not like a traditional, I don't want to say the word church, but church, synagogue, mosque place where you go and say, okay, I have these questions of faith, and then you get a deeper level of understanding like you kind of have. It's more you get the traditional religious answers.
Yeah. I love this question and exploration, by the way. And I grew up in religion. I no longer align with religion. That's not where I find myself today. I have found through my own experiences and my own exploration of simply seeking truth and relying on my own experience to be my best teacher, that I've found something that is way more expansive than what any religion I've ever found is able to hold. And when I was little, I used to have this, now I think it would be intuition, that we're all saying the same thing in a way that makes sense to our psyche, culture, background, and experiences in life. And I also believe that there has been a heavy human influence and man-made influence into something that was so pure, and for different reasons, for controls. And I think sometimes maybe with good intentions, like, hey, let's help people act better and treat each other better. So I don't, always demonize that by any means, but, where I've found myself today is something that doesn't necessarily fit a box. It's based on my own experiences. It's based on my own personal journey of healing. And so when you say, where did you go? Where did you turn? Where did you look? When I was at the lowest point in my life, I was going to church like 4 times a week. I was going to Sunday service, Wednesday service, women's prayer, all the things, just searching for God to save me and to help me. And when I was at the lowest point of my entire life, I just remember being there and the thought came in, no one is coming to save you. Like, not even God. It's like I was sitting there praying and asking, pleading, God, help me. I'm not okay. I literally need help. And I kept thinking, I've heard these other stories of like, when you do that, God will show up kind of thing. And I kept searching for this thing outside of myself to come help and save and fix my life and all the pain that I was in and the turmoil I was in because of my life experiences and relationships and things like that. And that quote came in, no one is coming to save you. And when that came in, I just was reminded that I have to save me. I have to get up and I have to do the work and I have to do the deep soul searching. So it sent me on this journey initially of one, showing up to myself, showing up to my own life powerfully through all of my actions. And that looked like, eating nutritious foods, moving my body, which the reason why that's a big deal is because at the lowest point, I wasn't doing any of those things. I wasn't eating, I wasn't training, I wasn't showing up to life. So I started doing that. And meanwhile, I started doing the deep inner healing as to how did my life get here? How did I allow relationships that are harmful to me? Why do I feel this disconnect in my spirituality where, the things that I was told in religion aren't necessarily embodied or true or active in my life? And that sent me on a deeper journey of just that spiritual exploration. And through my healing journey, I was able to discover the divine within. There is this divine particle, this divine essence that is in every single one of us. I believe it's the thread that connects all of us. I believe that God is literally within us. It's actually essentially what this tattoo means. This was a tattoo of an experience that I had where the way I describe it to my close friends and family is like where God came and hung out with me. And I use the word God, and I know a lot of people might have different ideas of what that means. I could also use the word source or higher power or oneness or divine. I don't really care what term you use. And I've had conversations with this higher intelligence about that. And I almost felt this laughter of like, you think I care what you humans label me? it's kind of the feeling, the intuition that I got from it, which makes sense. If you really do believe in a higher intelligence, a higher source, more than any human, you really think they're going to get offended by the term, or he or she or it, whatever the heck you want to call it. You really think there's going to be an offense to the term that we use for it? I don't personally believe that. So my journey has just been through my own experiences. And that's why with my coaching, with my retreats, even with friendships, I'm never here to convince anyone of anything. But I do think what I can do is present people with opportunities for their own experience and their own level of awareness to awaken within them.
Okay, so I'm fascinated with that answer, because when you came to the conclusion, no one's going to save me, not even God, that is a turning point for most to lose faith. Because you come to the realization that it's up to you anyway, so what is this whole faith thing necessary for? And somehow you didn't go there. You went to, no, you actually found deeper faith.
I did.
Because you realized it was all on you. And I guess I'm just not understanding how those came to be. Like, not questioning you, I'm saying for me, I'm putting myself in your shoes, and I'm thinking, okay, every time in my life where I've tried to find faith because I was at a low point or I needed something and I came to that same conclusion, nobody's going to save me, that made me lean back onto me and stopped thinking about it as a faith exercise. So how did you go deeper into faith when you came to the conclusion it was all up to you anyway?
Because the true essence of who I am is not Emily, is not this human that's walking throughout life. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and my spirit and my soul remembers. And I believe that my journey has been a deep experience of remembrances little by little. And so when I had that moment, no one is coming to save me, not even God, I had real human emotions of like anger and resentment. Like at that point, I had so much proof in my life that a higher intelligence, divine source, God exists. However, each person understands it. I just knew within me that it existed. And I didn't understand why it wasn't saving me, why it wasn't helping me. So for me, it wasn't a matter of, is God real or not? Because this is wild to say, but this experience that I have tattooed on me, this was, I want to say, a year or two prior, before my darkest moment. And this was as a result of me putting out the prayer and the intention. I would say I've heard of something called an unshakable faith. People that no matter what they go through in life, they could lose, their best friend, their father, whatever. They could go through the worst of the worst, and they know without a shadow of a doubt that there's a God. And if that exists, that's what I'm requesting. I want to have that. I want to have something called an unshakable faith where I will not question it no matter what I went through. And so I had this experience where I say I met God. That's what I experienced. And then about a year later, that's when I had or a year and a half later, that's when I had the lowest moment of my life. And that's why I didn't turn to, there must be no God. I already knew. I just was upset that it felt like God wasn't stepping in to help me. But when I went on my journey, my healing journey, I had to look back at that moment. And in this moment of desperation and pain and trauma and so much hurt, I had to ask myself, where did those thoughts come from that ultimately led me out of that? I believe that thoughts are sent to us. I believe that we receive thoughts, sometimes from a really good place, sometimes not from a good place. And when I look at those thoughts, I wasn't creative. I wasn't thinking outside the box. I was literally contemplating not being on earth. Those thoughts came from somewhere. So when I look at that now, whether you want to understand that as my higher self, my, divine self, or you want to see it as God, as source, or as guides, or however you understand it, there was a higher intelligence coming through to me that asked me a series of questions that ultimately led me to my healing and choosing to stay here on earth.
Wow. I'm like taking that in, and it's awesome because, like I said, you went right when so many people in that circumstance would have gone left, myself included, where that is one of the reasons I struggle with that whole area of my personal development, if you will, is because I have come to that same conclusion too many times, which led me to the conclusion, if it's up to me, it's up to me. Therefore, My faith is in me, in my personal ability to do what I have to do. But I never thought about it how you just kind of said it, which is, well, maybe those thoughts came from something else. So being a dynamic, powerful, entrepreneurial woman in a world that needs more of them, because you are an example not only for my daughters, but for every woman out there who has these glass ceilings put on them by society that needs to be shattered. How much of this unshakable faith that you have found has allowed you to excel in this crazy entrepreneurial world? Because I've seen you from a distance and through DM, now hanging out finally.
Yeah.
Finally.
Salty.
It's a little salty. No salt. There's no salt in my game. I don't use salt.
I'm kidding.
Fake salt. No salt.
I love salt.
I use no salt.
Really?
No, I use real salt.
Okay,
I
good.
use Himalayan
So
pink.
we might have to talk about
I
that.
use Himalayan pink
Okay,
salt, especially on like hard-boiled eggs.
Okay,
Anyway,
good.
you kind of went, like I said, you went from being a professional athlete, bodybuilder, which is a very regimented path that you can kind of control a lot of the controllables. Like, you don't know what's going to happen at the show, but you can control your diet, you can control your behaviors and habits, and therefore when you show up, you can be as close to the best version of you that you could have been if you put it all on the field. Now you go to entrepreneurship, and you have coaching, you have clients, which anyone who's coached is very difficult because you are trying to get somebody to grow and improve themselves or their business, but they don't have all of your internal ingredients. So you have to coach them. Tough. Not everyone is meant to be a coach. Very hard. You have retreats. You have masterminds. You have your own show. You speak. So you're doing all these things, and entrepreneurship is very hard. And I tell my daughters all the time, if you can find something else to do, do it. Because it is very hard. It's
True.
not the quality of life you think that people assume it's going to be. It's like being a doctor. You know, you see a TV show of a doctor, you're like, oh, this is really cool. That's not really the life of a doctor, right? Or a lawyer. They're not like, oh, you can't handle the truth. You know, there's a lot more to it. Faith is such an important ingredient, I think, for so many successful entrepreneurs. Do you lean on that regularly? And is that part of your coaching and your retreats? Like, is that why people gravitate towards you for kind of that help, that guidance? Like you said, they're not here to convince, but maybe to show. Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah. So to answer your question, I believe it's my embodiment. So what I love about the healing journey and the path that I've taken is that I share what I live, what is actually true and active in my life. Whereas a bit of a bone to pick with the religious realms is that often it's not embodied. Often the values that people claim to be a part of are not actually true and active in their life. And they don't even hold themselves accountable to it at all. So, you know, I think when you're asking why do people come, I do believe it's the embodiment of the way that I live my life, how I first and foremost treat myself, and how, you know, my relationship to myself. So the way that I use my voice, the way that I hold boundaries for myself before anyone else.
Give me an example.
Yeah. So, for example, when I was going through that really difficult time, one of my loving agreements or boundaries with myself was I eat 3 nutritious meals every single day, because I knew that that was loving of my one earth vessel that I've gotten to walk around this earth in. It's loving of myself to do that. It's unloving to not fuel myself properly. So my choices come from a deep level of self-love. When it comes to love and relationships, it is unloving of myself to allow someone else to treat me in a harmful or disrespectful manner. When I didn't have that level of love for myself, I allowed treatment that was very harmful, very abusive. And it's because I hadn't yet learned how to prioritize myself. I was seeking for an external form of love. I thought if I could just work with this person, that then we could be back in love. But I didn't realize at the time it was just unloving of myself to choose this partnership or this relationship. So, you know, people come to me, and when you say, you know, show them, I do believe that I act as a mirror for a lot of people. I get to show them what is possible when they do the deep inner work on themselves, choose to heal from their past pain, trauma, life experiences, when they call themselves out on their own BS, because we all have it, myself included, And when you're actually willing to face the truth, it's hard sometimes to look at the real truth of yourself, your habits, your life, the ways that you're living, and also the areas that you have to grow. But on the other side of that hard truth is literal freedom for your soul. It's the most authentic version of you. So I really believe that where I'm at now is living my life from such an authentic embodiment that it really shows other people what's possible when you choose to do that inner work and become the most authentic version of yourself. And authenticity is the highest frequency, even more so than love. And my opinion of that is that love is authentic, so that's why. But when you're operating at that level and at that frequency in life, because we are all energy, we live in an energetic world, everything emits a certain frequency that is measurable. And when you realize that, you can move from the lower frequencies of pain, hurt, trauma, grief, sadness into the higher frequencies of love and authenticity and embodiment. And that journey is only taken by the people that choose to do the deep inner work and face themselves on the deepest levels.
I want you to coach me right now. I want to challenge something, and then I want you to help me.
Okay.
Because I love everything you just said, and I do agree that I think the problem with a lot of traditional religious paths today is it's more aspirations than actually who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So they aspire to be this, but they don't actually put in the work to be it, and they feel good the fact that they're aspiring, right? It's like core values in companies that I see all the time. It's like, put these things on the wall. No one's perfect. You're going to fall off, but do you actually live those things, or are they just aspirations?
Totally.
And my struggle with religion is it's just a bunch of aspirations that we're not all living. But as you set those boundaries for yourself, at what point do you, like, you can't be one step over the line in a relationship, they're out, right?
Absolutely.
There has to be some fluid flexibility to these boxes, right? How do you coach somebody who is not setting boundaries to set boundaries, but still allow for the fact that in a relationship with a person or with yourself that maybe you're going to have a day where you don't get 3 nutritious meals because you go to dinner at your best friend's house and they frankly didn't make anything nutritious.
Totally.
Right?
I had a day yesterday where I didn't have 3 nutritious meals.
Go to Everable.
I'm sorry?
Got to go to Everable.
I know, I should have. I'm traveling. I'm in San Diego. I had a wonderful connection with a girlfriend who I'm staying with in San Diego in the morning. And then I had a walk with our friend Chris, who I talked about earlier. And then, friendships and connections. And I was nourishing myself in other ways. And should I have gotten 3 meals? Absolutely. It's loving. However, it didn't happen yesterday. So let's give an example, though, of something like a relationship. What this looks like to hold your boundaries there is to have boundaries, number 1, for yourself, but number 2, in relationship, and also communicating those to them. So even new in a relationship, I will be the first one to say, I do not do yelling. It's not a part of my dynamic. It's not how I talk to myself, and it's not how I will tolerate being treated either. If there's something that comes up, we can calmly discuss that like adults. We can share real emotions and thoughts. I'm a big believer in having the full human experience. So if you're anger, have anger, experience anger, but don't project it onto me, and don't put that anger onto me or come at me with that anger. So there's a way to be in the emotional experience without projecting it onto your partner. It just requires a very high level of emotional intelligence so that you can even communicate, I'm experiencing a lot of anger right now. And maybe the best thing in that space is let me go feel this and experience it and move through it fully and come back to you when I've processed and moved through some of this anger. But when it comes to maybe crossing a boundary, it's not being perfect at anything, but do you have a strong enough sense of self to express, hey, this is a boundary of mine and this does not work for me? And then do you have someone that respects you enough to respect that? So it's not about them being perfect. It's do they respect it, and what do they do when they realize, oh, we've crossed a boundary or this doesn't work for you? Do they respond positively? And is there immediate action and immediate change? Or do they continue the habit and pattern? Because I got to this place where I had boundaries for myself. I knew how to set boundaries. I knew how to voice them. But I was experiencing a boundary destroyer, someone who, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they have no intention on respecting you on any level. And back then, I just should have walked away at the first sign of disrespect and continued disrespect. You know, when you're with a loving partner who truly has respect for you, if you share, hey, I feel really disrespected by this, or this does not work for me, they should be coming to you with love and compassion of, wow, like you feel disrespected. Tell me more about that. What about that felt disrespectful for you? And they're going to hold that space. They're going to communicate with you. They're going to express curiosity about it. And then they're going to ask you, in which ways could I have done this differently? What does work for you? And then you guys will come together on that. So again, it's not about yourself being perfect or demanding perfection from anyone. If anything, it gives more room for your humanness. But there's authentic conversation. There is truth being both heard and received, or expressed and received on both levels. So there has to be this deep level of truth, this honoring, this respect of yourself and with others.
And so you would be tolerant of repeat offenses so long as it is in the process of getting better, right? Because you got to meet everyone where they are at some point, right? So like I'm a passionate speaker, like socially. Yelling, I don't yell that often, but I speak passionately, which may come across as more boisterous than traditional voices. But it's not out of anger. It's out of, I get excited.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
Like I just talk passionately.
Yeah.
So if I was to come across as yelling and I was starting to realize, hey, I was being disrespectful to how you want to be spoken to, I might do it less. But as long as I'm getting better, are we okay because I'm doing it with the right intention? That's the question I'm trying to understand from the boundary side, because I struggle with boundaries.
With yourself? Or
with
others?
I don't really set them. I meet people where they are. I engage with them to the level of which they inspire me or don't. And inspire me doesn't mean like inspiration in that tone, but more in the sense of, are they bettering themselves? Are we going towards a goal? Do we have common interests that we can build together? Even if it's not 100%, like right now, are we impacting the audience? And I'm inspired by the fact that I feel like we are. If you were like one-word answers not really helping, I wouldn't want to be on the show anymore, right? So it's not inspiring to what we're trying to do, because I look at it like, hey, I have one day. This is my day today. I don't know tomorrow. We'll see tomorrow, but today, win the day. Yeah. And so like for me, it's like I don't set boundaries. But maybe I do without subconsciously.
I think you just don't label them.
Yeah.
I don't think that you label them, because that's actually an example of a boundary that you have for your business, your life, the podcast. Like if it's not adding value, you're going to take your time elsewhere and go add value where you can. So and maybe boundary has a bad rep. Maybe the term doesn't work for you, but maybe it's more so living in alignment with your core truth. So your truth is, I provide value on this show. I provide value with my guests. I connect on a deep level. And if that's not happening, it's simply not worth my time. So the boundary is I step away. I don't book that guest again. I don't post the episode.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. No, I guess that's true. I just never thought about it as a boundary, because I'll always come back to the individual if they're back inspiring whatever it is they're doing.
What does boundary mean to you? I think there's
this boundary to me is like
there.
A hard line, like a wall almost.
That's where the difference is. Boundary to me, and some of them are hard lines. For example, any form of physical abuse, immediate goodbye, right? Sure. There are some boundaries that need to be this very hard line. But when you talk about other types of boundaries, it's more so alignment with my deeper truth. It's also agreements that I've made with myself that present the most loving, authentic version of me. If there's an experience where, for example, professionally, I've been on some podcasts and I've had some negative experiences where people will take me out of context completely from the story to paint me in a different light in the clips than what was actually shown on the podcast. And so I really had to sit with that. And my hard boundary was, I will not be represented as something that I'm not. Either take that clip out or put the full context so people can actually hear my viewpoint on what I was sharing. So I have a very strict boundary with that when it comes to the representation of my core message and the values that I hold. So yeah, I don't think that boundaries are always a very hard line. I think it's more so like agreements, and this is the best way that I operate. You can meet me there or not.
Okay, I like that a lot better. Now I'm with you, because the boundaries to me just felt like such a...
like a wall.
Yeah, binary, yes or no.
It's almost more so like, this is the optimal operating procedures.
Yeah, that's
if that
fair.
Makes more sense for an entrepreneurial mind.
Well, it does, only because I promote the idea of daily Kaizen, get 1% better. So if people are working towards a better version of themselves, I can't tell you when you have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know when that'll happen, as long as you're improving and doing the steps.
I love what you're saying because it aligns so heavily with what I believe in life. And it's that every single person is on their journey. And one of my podcast guests, we spoke about him earlier, Peter Crone, he made this example that a butterfly is not going to look at a caterpillar and be like, bro, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you not flying like a butterfly? Like, it's absolutely absurd. No, it's going to say, wow, like I remember that stage. That was beautiful. That was authentic. That's exactly why I'm at where I'm at today. So I think in regards to what you're sharing, it's, I really believe one of the most loving things that you could do is give people their own process of their personal evolution and their personal journey. I really do not believe that any stage is better or worse than any other stage. So it's not about that. Boundaries, again, it's more so about this is what works for me in relationship, in business, in my relationship with myself. If I didn't have boundaries for myself and I just allowed myself to, and it's not even authentic to me anymore, but I don't drink at all. But if I just was like, oh, I'll just drink 4 times a week and I'll eat crap all the time, that's not very loving of myself, So I feel like there are probably a lot of people out there that could really benefit from incorporating some healthy boundaries, agreements, operating procedures, whatever you want to call it, for your relationship with yourself.
I mean, I love that whole relationship with yourself, because when you really boil it all the way to the core, it is the lack of true love of self, which is preventing people from achieving what they want out of life. Because they can define success however they want. For us, it might be business oriented because we're entrepreneurs, but it might be a teacher who wants to impact every student in his or her class, right? And if they show up unhappy with life, they're not taking care of their body, they feel crummy, then they're probably not going to achieve that goal anyway. And if you don't love yourself, how can you expect anyone else to give you that same love? So I guess it's really a fascinating point. You should write a book on that.
Thank you. Yeah. Maybe I already am.
Maybe you already are. I didn't know that, but I want a copy.
Absolutely.
I think you have it's just such a good perspective that you don't hear a lot, especially in our community of business, where it's almost perceived as, so the only thing I do, and to make sure that I do give my emotions their time, is I do a 5-minute pity party.
I love that.
Yes, that's my thing.
Give yourself permission.
I do. When I'm a victim, feeling bad, upset, I do set a timer. I give myself the 5 minutes, sometimes longer, but 5 minutes. Yeah. Cry, scream, curse, jump up and down, poor me. But then I get back to it, because part of being a leader, and this is one of my next questions for you, as someone who is so focused and so in tune with themselves, as a leader, sometimes we have to take the boundaries to hell with them and accept the fact that we're going to take it all in the face to lead. And to get there sometimes requires going through the muck.
But usually always.
Usually always. So how do you juggle that? Because I do it well, because I don't have that level of emotional intelligence that I think, and self-awareness that you have, to have clearly defined these things. So I'm kind of embracing it and saying, I'll figure it out later. So I'm curious to see how you are able, because you're so successful. So it's usually you don't see those go together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Is that your perception of that?
It is. That most of the very successful entrepreneurs find it after, not
I agree with that. I agree with that. Well, to be fair, I had a almost 10-year career before I went on this deep path. So it's not like I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've had it forever. Remind me the original question.
Just how you were able to be a leader and go through, we'll call it hell situations, where anyone with clear boundaries and any level of self-awareness would probably say, why am I putting myself through this? Life is not worth doing this for some non-important, in the big scheme of things, business goal, if you will, right?
Oh, so interesting. And I love this topic so much. I think you're right. A lot of people view it that way. It's because of how I view the challenge, the conflict, the unprocessed trauma feeling emotion that's arising. I know that it's my gateway. It's my literal initiation to soul freedom, to deeper authenticity, to more embodiment, and to deeper wealth, success, love, relationships. It creates a level of my life that is flourishing on a way in which I can't flourish if that thing is within unprocessed. So there's a lot of people that focus on the success and they haven't done the deep inner work. I know, because I work with a lot of high-level entrepreneurs that now need to take this path. And it's so funny. There was this one client recently, and we had the most beautiful, powerful coaching call. And she has tears in her eyes, and she's smiling. And she goes, this entire time, I thought my business needed to change. I thought I was here for more business growth, strategies, advice, all the things. But it was me. And I needed to grow and evolve. It wasn't my business. It was me. And that realization is something I think a lot of us have to go through, to realize it's not the next business strategy. It's not the next back-end system or person that you hire. Those things can help and they're very important. However, if you will reach a deeper level of embodiment, which only happens through you doing the deep inner work and actually facing all the things that you've ran so far away from, once you do that, even though it is very scary, you will be able to create on a level that you're not even tapping into at the moment. And I say that confidently to the highest level CEOs and people that have created, multi-million-dollar businesses on all levels, and there are just such deeper levels that they could reach if they'd be willing to do this work for a moment, which does take a lot of intentionality, because most people don't, at that level, they don't value it. They think that they got to where they got without all of that, and they're not going to need that moving forward. But I can tell you there is such a deeper level of success, love, fulfillment, joy, peace that exists on the other side of coming to a deeper level of authenticity, embodiment, and healing within yourself.
Yeah. I think if this was 6 months ago, I won't lie to you, I would hear you say those words. Mm-hmm. I would say something like, okay, that makes sense, but I wouldn't really believe it. But I think right now at this point in my life, I totally, not only do I feel what you're saying at a different perspective, but in a weird way, going through my own shit right now for a whole host of other reasons, which has allowed me to see it, because I was fortunate enough, I guess, for the first 41 and a half years of my life to never have 8 things fall off my track, right? Because I had my physical health, and when I lost that, everything kind of spiraled away from that. But simultaneously, I thought it was a sign of weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a kid of the 80s, so men, emotion, feelings, weak. That's how we were, unfortunately, society taught us very young. Cry, bad. Anger, good, right? And then the female dichotomy was anger, bad. Cry, good. Bad. So to hear that and how you articulate that, and I think it's so apropos, because you're right. You do coach a lot of very successful, high-level executive CEOs. And what's funny is most people who need coaching don't get it, and they assume the ones who have it don't need it. The truth is, LeBron James has a coach, right? And coaching is not just about getting told what to do. Sometimes it's about realigning the vision, because they're able to sit at a different level and not be in the game and see the game, right? So for those who are kind of like on the fence about, well, how and why would I need a coach, or why would I not need a tactical coach? Because people hear coaching and then they want something tactical, like, okay, hey, I'm in digital marketing. I need a digital marketing coach to tell me exactly what to do digital marketing. That's not a coach, right? That's an advisor. That's almost an executive. Coaching is really about the self, because my biggest frustration at this point in my life, and in a weird way, it sounds somewhat egotistical to say it, and so I don't mean it in this context, but I have become so aware of what has allowed me to win and be successful in the goals and objectives I've set for myself, that I have such a low tolerance now for people around me who aren't doing those things. And I'm not letting them have their own journey, to your point of the butterfly and the caterpillar, right? And that's bad. And I don't mean to do that. So I needed to reset my expectations and understanding that says, well, their goals are different than mine. So they might actually be ahead of me on their goal.
So good.
And I missed that for a little while. So I've recentered myself on that train of thought. And it is through coaching, right? And people who I can go to for that level of a conversation, which is very different. Because as a CEO, it is so damn lonely. You have no peer. If you're a founder of a company, you literally have no peers. You have people who work for you. You might have investors who gave you money and expect something from you. And then you have family and friends. You don't really have a co-working peer. And so that level of having the ability, I mean, look, I'm selfish. I'm getting a coaching session right now. But be able to do this
Yeah.
is invaluable, right? So how would you advise the people listening right now and going, gosh, I need to talk to Emily every day, right? Like, at what point and how should they view coaching so they are looking at it from a position of this is going to empower me to be better as opposed to some magic wand that's going to make me $1 million in my business tomorrow? Because that's really not what a coach's job is, right? A coach doesn't teach LeBron how to shoot a basketball. He already knows how to do that. That's on him. It's like, how do you kind of explain?
Yeah, I love this. And one of the most powerful things that I help my clients realize is that I am not your healer. I'm not here to heal you. I'm not here to get you to that end goal that you think you're trying to get to. I'm here to equip you to learn how to do this on your own, to learn how to navigate your own emotional landscape, the pain from the past, the things that come up, connect your own intuition. So my job as a coach, as a guide, as someone that's in this space is to help you reach a deeper level of relationship with yourself and a deeper level of embodiment. So my goal as a coach is to empower and equip my clients so much that they don't need me. They don't need that. But one thing that's so helpful to your point, especially for CEOs and founders, is that they don't often have people that are willing to say the truth to them, the deep truth, the truths that people are scared to say. And I'm someone who, ever since I was little, I literally love truth. I love it more than my own opinion. I love it more than my own feelings. And that's true and present in relationship and love and the most intimate, relationships that we have. Like, it doesn't matter how I feel. If you present me with truth, that I love that more than my own feelings or stake in it. And I think that that allows me to grow and evolve at a level that a lot of people aren't able to reach if they won't accept that deep truth. So again, back to the CEO and founder that doesn't really have a peer, often you're not having someone speak a deep truth to you. So for people coming to me, I always say, number one, you have to be willing to hear the truth. You have to be willing to have someone from an outside perspective say, these are the things that I see that are holding you back. And these are the tools and practices that are going to help you step into an embodiment of that. So what I'm talking about are not concepts and just ways of thinking. When I say do the deep inner work, yeah, we'll have a coaching call, but then you're the one that has to go sit and do the breath work, the meditation, the journaling prompts, the things to help you dig deeper within yourself. You're also the one that has to use your voice, speak your boundaries, raise a higher level of excellence for yourself in your daily life, and really shift your habits and your lifestyle into one that is embodying the authentic version of you, the highest version of you. When you're doing that, you're also raising your energy and your frequency from those lower level vibrational frequencies, which are attracting low level vibrational matches to that. You're raising your frequency little by little to become matches for deeper, more expansive, higher levels of life experiences. So when you go on this path, your literal life experience changes. The rooms that you walk into, now all of a sudden, you're highlighted to people that wouldn't have even seen you before. And you're literally walking in the same rooms. Or you realize you don't belong in the room that you've been walking in, and you literally shift the room altogether. But what I'm talking about is embodying a deeper level of self so that you can go from this victim consciousness, which I think a lot of CEOs have moved through to a certain level in certain areas of life. And I believe that there's a deeper level to embody and move through when it comes to the emotional level and the spiritual level. And once those things become unlocked and you really get to a higher place within yourself, now your choices, your perspectives, the way that you're showing up in business meetings in life, it just shifts. And when that shifts, everything changes.
So you said something about truth over opinion. So there's a quote I live by, which is, would you rather be right or would you rather win? And I'd always rather win. I love hearing truth. I struggle sometimes with the people giving me the truth because they may not actually have the truth. They have an opinion that they are turning into a truth. And based on life experience, I've already gone through that analysis and already have come to a conclusion that that truth doesn't apply to me, or it does and I'm too blind to see it, right? That's the problem. That's always the fork in the road, right?
Yeah, I think that your heart knows truth when you hear it.
I think so too.
And I also think sometimes there can be a blockage to that. Sometimes the blockage is that our mind, heart, soul is not in alignment. Let me give you an example. I had an experience where, and I have this foundational truth that everyone I come across is a teacher. I'm learning right now, and you're a teacher for me. This experience is a teacher. And because of that, anything that comes into my field, it's for my own learning, growth, and involvement. So fast forward, I'm on this coaching call, and this comment was expressed. How can there be this person that is so spiritual, feeling so connected to their intuition about this topic, and yet they're completely wrong? Like, we know the truth of what happened and what didn't. So how could they feel that they're so spiritual, so in their intuition, and they're completely wrong? And when I heard that, I just, continued the coaching call. But afterwards, I said, okay, if this is coming into my field, is there an area of my life in which I feel I'm connected to my intuition? I feel really right, but yet I'm actually seeing it improperly, or I'm not. And so I really sat with that. And then I did a float tank. Have you ever done a float tank?
I have not.
Everyone needs to go do a float tank. It's the most incredible meditative experience, and you don't have to try to meditate. You literally just float. And because it is a sensory deprivation, so you're in this water that's like lukewarm, there's thousands of pounds of salt in it, so it's really good for your skin, but you also just naturally float. It puts you into this deep theta state. And in this deep theta state, for me, I gain a lot of clarity. And in this float tank that I felt I was guided to do some deeper introspection, I realized that this decision that I was making, this solution that I had come to, felt so right. And I'm in the float tank, I'm floating, and I'm in my mind, and I'm just I'm like, and I'm feeling just so right with it. And then this voice, this thought comes in, where's your heart? I said, I know where my heart is. Bring my consciousness down from my mind, down into my heart. And it was almost like I was like knocking, like, where's the heart? I know it's there, but I can't feel my heart space. I can't feel this energy center, which is a real energy center that emits a frequency that we can measure. I literally couldn't feel into it. And that was my first awareness of, oh no, something's off because I'm not aligned. And through some deeper introspection, it was revealed to me, you have an on-off switch. I said, okay, when did that on-off switch first happen? It was one of my major losses when I was a child. Lost someone very, very close to me. And when that off switch comes on, it goes straight from the authentic, embodied version that I've worked so hard to become back into the fear-based mind, the ego mind, the self that tries to protect itself, which can feel so justified and feel so right. So here I was thinking that I'm making this very aligned decision because I had completely shut off my heart, and it was only coming from my mind and a projection of fear and a desire to protect myself from what I thought might cause me pain. And yet it was actually about to take me away from the very thing that I want most in life. And when I reconnected my heart, all of a sudden felt a wave of emotions that I hadn't felt about the whole situation. And in that, I was able to soften, reopen the heart, reintegrate, and realize that the deeper truth was a completely different outcome than the solution that I had come to. So I just mentioned that because even for myself, as someone who is so deep into this work, consider myself deeply embodied, I really live out my values and I do the best that I can with that. I'm not perfect. But even myself, I can have moments of not being fully aligned and having to check myself and do that, that pause and that deeper, reflection. And that's why I love things like the float tank meditation, breath work, even yoga. These are all practices to get out of the analytical mind, the conscious mind, deep into the body and into the heart, and to re-access that deeper truth that exists within.
This has been awesome for me. I won't lie to you.
That's dope.
Because my biggest fear in life is not what I don't know, it's what I think I know to be true, and it's not. That is like what scares the shit out of me. You wouldn't believe. And so hearing you kind of say that same thing, because it's so true, I am so dogmatic about my core values. But I go through periods where I'm not living them either. And I'm the guy who talks about them. Like, that's one of my keynotes on stages is my success formula. It works. But then I find myself in periods of time, hopefully smaller amounts of time, not living them. And I have to recheck myself, and I have to reconnect, like you just said, my what's going on in my head and my heart, and they need to realign and say, okay, why am I not? What is that potential boundary that I need to reset so I can go back to doing that? And so for those listening, I mean, this is why you need a coach, because on the surface, you don't realize how refreshing and thought-provoking and emotionally fulfilling it is to be able to have a conversation that challenges some of the things that I was thinking, but then simultaneously reiterate some of the ways that maybe I am just not giving myself credit for doing some of the work because I don't quantify it or name it like you would.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Which now makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that maybe I'm not completely just running from the monkey brain of business, right?
You did not get to where you're at today running on a monkey brain. So let's be clear on that. And I think that entrepreneurship is one of the deepest spiritual journeys that anyone could go on, whether you realize it or not. And all humans, we are all having a spiritual experience in this human experience. So just because I dive deep into spiritual topics doesn't mean that I'm spiritual and someone else is not.
Sure.
Even people that would say I'm not spiritual at all, I kind of just smile. Like, okay, that's fine. But like, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. When your body, dies and decays, your spirit goes on. Your spirit is eternal. It is timeless. It is something that is in this human form for a period of time, which I believe is going to feel like a blink of an eye. And I think that's why it's important to do the work while you're here to identify your truest essence so that you can live authentically, because I believe in your authentic life, that's the most fulfilling life that you could ever live.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I didn't say I'm not spiritual. I said I struggle with faith. I struggle with it because, like I said, where you went right, I went left. Mm-hmm. When I came to the realization that it's on me, that meant I had to have faith in me.
Yeah.
And I had to have faith in the formulas and values that I'm going to hold myself accountable to be the best version of myself so I can save myself.
Yes.
And then lead my family and friends and do what I got to do. But I never added that other element. So I'm going to give some thought to that.
Yeah, and I'm glad.
And I'm going to have you come once a week on the show. It's just because I want to have coaching sessions.
It's so weird. I haven't seen any of our coaching sessions posted.
Really? I know. Oh, by the way, are we recording this?
I hope so.
Yeah, we better be, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, before we jump into rapid fire, because I could be going with you all day and I just looked at the clock.
Yeah.
What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. Okay, hold on a second. I used to know what that was.
Okay.
Let's see. What is my biggest fear? What's present in this moment is missing out on the fullness of life by not being fully present to experience it. Meaning, a lot of us aren't present throughout life. I've dedicated my life to this work and practicing presence and all of that, but I find myself in moments of not being present or fixed on the next thing. And I think when you do that, life just passes by you and you're not fully experiencing it at the depth. It's like you're going throughout life getting a 70% version of your own life instead of the 100%, like all the juice that day has to offer you. And I want to experience it day by day just like that, because death has been my biggest teacher. A lot of people close to me never even made it to the age of 35. And so for me, I'm just so aware that at any moment it could be my last day on earth. And so it's important to me that every single day I get the juice out of it, that I'm present on this podcast. This fulfills me at such a deep level. So thank you for having me. With my puppies, I want to be present. I don't want to be distracted on my phone. So for me, it's about being present to live the life in front of me.
That is so good. One of my core values is remarkable, right? I'm putting 100% of my best effort in whatever I'm doing, which is another way of saying being present, because that is so hard to do regularly. It's one of the reasons I like to do certain things like play a sport, because it forces me to be there, do a show, talk on a stage, run a company. Because otherwise, you're right, you're getting 60, 70% of life. And you blink and you go, I didn't do anything with intention today. And that is a terrible feeling.
Yeah. And
Great, now I have a second fear.
Yeah, sorry. I don't want to go out of the world that way.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more intention. I'm going to have more intention about that after hearing you just say that. So before we get into rapid fire, I'm sure other people are getting as much value from this as I am, and they probably have their own personal questions. Who is your coaching for? Is there for anybody, or is it for a specific person on a specific part of their journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's people that are willing to look in the mirror, people that are open to hard truths being shared and expressed, and people that are already on the path of personal development. So they're already, probably listening to podcasts and doing journal entries, and they're on this journey of self-discovery, and they feel like they need an outside perspective to expand their journey and expedite their journey as well. One of the fastest ways to grow is by being connected to someone that's already been there, so they can just quickly show you your blind spots or show you where you might not yet be free. And that's the biggest thing, is revealing to you the ways in which you're holding yourself back, because sometimes it's just the lens that we grew up with, and you don't realize that it's a lens that you've held your whole life. You see it as capital T truth, and it's like, actually.
Yeah.
Actually.
And what about your retreats?
Yeah, my retreats, I host both women's only and co-ed experiences. So the next one's in Costa Rica. That one's already filled. And that is for people that are on the journey of personal growth and development and want to connect with other like-minded individuals that are also on this journey, because there is often a lot of loneliness when people first go on the path of personal development. They change their habits. They're not doing the same things they used to do anymore, which means their connection, belonging, friendship circles happen to die down or off, and they experience a bit of loneliness. So it can be really beautiful to come together with other like-minded individuals that are also prioritizing spiritual growth, the consciousness, ascension, awakening journey, and to have not just the connection there, but also the guidance of the experiences that I offer. So on my retreats, I do my best to provide opportunities for evolvement in real time. And I do that through a method of different things: breathwork, meditation, deep experiences, workshops, to help people dig deeper and come to a new level of awareness of themselves, why they're here, and more about their purpose and their lived authentic life.
Well, I want to go.
Yeah, let's go.
I can't go to the
where
women
do you want
only
to
one,
go?
but I want to go to one of them.
Okay, what location?
Oh, you got to tell me where they are.
Well, I haven't identified the next location. I'm just curious.
Oh, well, let me think.
Where would you want to go? I'm thinking about a mountain one for the next co-ed.
Okay.
Like mountain vibes.
In the U.S. or out of the U.S.?
I was thinking in the U.S. for that one.
Okay, well then it's got to probably be the Rockies.
Oh, okay. I've never been.
You've never been to the Rockies?
Never been.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. You live in San Diego, L.A., and Texas. It's right there.
I know. I'm making my way. Making my way through
I mean, because Mount Whitney's cool, but I don't know that you'd want to do a retreat there. Or Alaska.
I went to Yosemite this last
Yosemite.
year, and that was magical.
Or Montana, Yellowstone.
Montana's very high on my list.
Yes. Galapagos Islands also.
Okay.
Yes.
Noted.
It's like prehistoric.
Really?
Yeah, it's where it's like, because it's like the animals there, it's the biggest congregation of some of the oldest living reptile animals on the planet.
How do you know this?
Discovery Channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on my short list.
Nerd.
Yeah, I know. Hey, listen, Shark Week is all me.
That's great.
And I love Discovery.
That's great.
I love Discovery. And I'm okay being a nerd.
Yeah.
I was like, you already went to Reykjavik in Iceland, so I can't go there.
Actually, I would go back in a heartbeat. I would host another retreat there in a heartbeat.
So what's the date?
Not going to release dates yet, but if you come over into my world,
I'm coming. Oh, you're stuck with me now.
I know.
So whether you like it or not, it's not going to be, you don't get to
come in and come out.
No, we're in this together now.
Agreed.
That's just the way it goes.
Agreed.
I'm a for lifer.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, I'm like a puppy.
Which kind of puppy? What
boxer
breed? That was immediate.
Yeah.
You have a boxer.
I had to.
Oh, I have 2 Frenchies.
Do you?
Yeah, they're my world.
Yeah, I'm a dog person. So, how do you not love a dog?
Oh, what?
How do you not love a dog? Just people in general.
Yeah, I don't. I do my best to love all people. I feel it's what I'm called to. But when you don't like dogs,
it's weird.
It's hard. It's a challenge for me
because they just unconditionally love you.
Yeah.
Like literally unconditionally love you.
They are the sweetest souls.
Yes.
That exist here.
And they have human eyes.
I know.
It's weird.
I know. I love it.
Yes, I do too. Okay, we're so late for rapid fire. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, you're going to stare into camera 1.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 3 questions.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
What's one lesson from your dad's gyms that still sticks with you?
One lesson from my dad's gyms that still sticks with me. You can do anything you set your mind to.
What's one part of you that will never change?
My deep love for truth.
When was your belief in yourself tested the most?
When I abandoned myself at the deepest level and gave someone else my understanding, my connection to love, and placed that love outside of myself.
I'm going to ask you one more because you said this word and I want to know what it really means to you. What does the word embodiment mean to you?
Embodiment is a living expression of your deepest core values and of all the things that you hold to be true. So it's not just an idea of something that you believe in. It is literally how you lived your life, as if there were private cameras following you around, and in your deepest moments and in the dark behind closed doors, that's actually what's true for your lived experience.
You survived rapid fire.
Thanks.
This was awesome, Emily. Thank you so much. I mean, seriously, this is it's a different kind of show. It's not just about business, but the attributes that you shared through your stories and how you really focused on who you are as a person, your faith, your belief system, your boundaries is something that I think all of us can learn from and take and apply in our own way, myself definitely included, because I don't think we do a good enough job of accepting those truths. We know them, but we justify why we're not going to live them.
Totally.
And the world would be a much better place if everyone was being the best version of themselves and operating in that top tier. And if you're going to do the things that aren't good for you, then make it a conscious choice, but don't make it a crutch, and don't make it to dumb down or water down your reality because you don't love it.
Absolutely. And just really quickly, have to add, being the best version of yourself, allowing space for everyone's humanness, right? Because we don't have to be perfect. It's not about perfection. It's not about always being that best self. One of the most loving things you could do is see someone in their mess and hold the frequency of love, because then that helps them to more quickly move out of that and back into a frequency of love, authenticity, and that best self. So just really want to mention that it's not about being perfect.
And that's so true. And I'll add the last thing you said before, which was unshakable faith. If it doesn't hold up in the storm, it doesn't really exist.
100%.
Like, I have the word loyalty tattooed on my body. And loyalty means that you got to do it when everything in you doesn't want to.
Exactly.
So having unshakable faith actually means you have faith, because if it's not unshakable, you don't really have faith. You have good time dreams, aspirations, goals, whatever you want to call it. So I like how you said that it's when you see somebody in their mess, being the love and having the tolerance to help them and stop holding them to a standard, because that's an area I got to do a little bit more work on. The deep, dark work.
It's very honest of you. I love that.
Like I said, I'm a truth seeker as well.
Yeah.
I didn't have it as coined like you do. You say it very much better than I do.
I don't think so. I think
do.
You just say it in your own expression.
I do, but I like how you said it. It actually spelled it out for me even more simply, because I like to simplify concepts. So I could basically we used to do a segment on here, which is talk to me like I'm a fifth grader, basically. Teach me like I'm in fifth grade.
Love that.
Because then if you can do that, you really understand the material.
Yes.
Right?
So good.
And then other people can learn it. Because I think some people hear things that they don't really grasp, and so they're embarrassed to maybe ask the follow-up.
So good.
So I will always ask the follow-up, because I don't mind being the dummy in the room.
Yeah. I love that. I really aligned with that as well, by the way.
It was a cool segment.
Yeah.
We killed it for some reason. Maybe people didn't like it, but I liked it. Well, thank you. I mean, this was awesome. If I had more time, we would keep running. And you will be coming back on the show.
Yes.
We are hanging out.
Yes.
And I am going to a retreat.
And you'll be on my podcast once I relaunch.
Anytime. I would love to.
Cool.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.